Hello everyone. Let us now discuss LeetCode question number 3408, Design Task Manager. So here we are given with a system where we need to execute and add the tasks and edit the task priority and also remove those tasks. So imagine this as a system. Now, if you want to execute a task which is having a priority, then you need to execute the toppest one. That means if you are having the toppest at the in the first priority, now it will be executed. So we are given with the class task manager. Now we are having like this task manager is having task, and you need to add some task having user id, task id, priority, and edit the task which is having a priority and change the priority into new priority. That means the task is changed to the new priority. Now we need to remove a task. That means when it is not useful, or when we have executed the task, then we need to remove the task. Now we need to execute the top. That means the task which is having uh, maximum priority, so we need to execute that. So let me go through the question and then the intuition and approach algorithm and then the code. So we are given with task. Now what is exactly given in this question? So in this system, tasks are given along with priority and given for users. We are given with task which is having a priority, which is having the priority like priority and user ID, and here also the task is having with task ID. So these three are given to us. Now our aim is to fill the code of like add, execute, remove, edit. Now what happens in this add? So in add the task with priority, user ID, and task ID. And in edit, what we need to do is edit the priority, sorry, of task with new priority. That means we are given with the task ID and the new priority. So we need to edit into the new priority. So this is the edit. And what is the remove? So we are removing a task. That means remove the task from executing. Now we are asked with execute the top, and here we need to return the user which is having the highest priority task. So this is the breakdown of the question. We need to add the task with, here we are given with the task id, user id, task id, user id, and priority for the task. So this is all about this question. This is the question we are given with, and we need to fill this. Now every time here we are having task manager, that means we are given with task. Our intuition begins from this second. So intuition is, our intuition is, so we need this task. We are having the task manager having some So add each task. So this is all about this task manager. Don't worry about this task manager, but we need to more concentrate on adding, editing, removing, and executing the task. Now, how we can store this? This is the main intuition. How we can store the task and the priority. First thing what I gonna do is we are having a task. We are given this task. I am assigning this task to a user. To a user. Task are given to the user and tasks are having priority. And the second thing what I gonna do is this task is having some priority. I will store in this way. Task is having the user, task is having the priorities. That means the task is given for this user. The task is given this priority. So you can ask me why we are not saving like this. Like user is having this 1 minute, user is having this task. So it is of no use because to find the task ID, to find the task ID when we need to execute the top as they asked for user ID. If you want to execute this task, so the top executed, then you cannot find this user. Let me take an example. If I store this user and task, so I am storing task 1, so user 1 for task 1, user 2 is having task 2, and therefore after this all, like user 194 is having the task 90. What if this task 90 is having the maximum priority? Then you need to come from here till here. That means this will waste our time. So instead of storing the user and the task, I'll be storing the and the user task and the user. So this is the first thing. And task and priority, why I am storing in this way? Because this will help me in changing the priority of this task. So when I want to edit, simply find the task ID in, this one, task ID in this here, then change the priority easily. Simply you can change the priority. But there is another thing. There is a system, as I said here. In this system, we need to execute the toppest element first, which is having the toppest priority. So, in system, this works in a priority queue. So, take a priority queue. This is the first data structure uh, which I uh, which I thought about. This is the first data structure which we are using for our system. Our system will use the priority queue. But how? What is the approach? What will be the approach for this? Now we have these three things. Task is having this user, and task is having this priority, and priority queue is used for system. Now how can we approach to this problem? Means let us go through this thing. Now what is the approach? So we have the approach like you need the task for the user. Now, task for the user, and task is having another thing, task is having the priority, and system is having a priority queue. So the three data structures which we need is 1, 2, 3. So instead of storing like these two, I think they get the same data structures. Like the task is having the user ID, so I will store it. I will store it in unordered map. So these two will be stored. These two will be stored in the unordered map. In the unordered map, and this will be stored in priority queue. But wait, the approach is not yet completed. The first thing which we gonna do in add add what we gonna do is store the task id in the user id, and do the same thing, store the task id to the priority in another data structure. Now push into system. This is how you complete this add function. And after adding, there is another function like edit. So edit, edit the task ID and new priority. This is given in the question. This is given in the question. Now, how can I change this task ID's priority? As I am storing this task and priority to change, to eventually change when I need the new priority, when I want to edit. So I'll be taking this task and priority. Now take out this task ID, priority, and change the priority and push it back into data structure. Let me write these data structures as task priority data structure and also system. Now this is how we write the edit function. This is the edit function. Now the main important thing is remove. How we can remove a task when we are given with this task ID. Now you got this task ID. To not execute it, just remove it from the two data structures. That means task priority data structure is one thing, and the second thing is users. Task is given for the user. Task user data structure, and task priority data structure. These two are the things you need to remove from. But wait, we need to execute the topest element. So when you are storing the in the system, you need to store first priority, and then they ask that if they are having same priority, then execute the topest or the greatest task. So then task ID, and then store user ID. This is how you store in the priority queue. So you will be using a tuple for this to store three things, three integers. Now you after completing this remove, now you got with execute top. Now there is a thing like you have removed some task from the system. So only when you got task in the data structures, then only remove and sorry, then only remove and return the user ID. Now, let me go with the algorithm. This is how you approach to this problem and what will be the algorithm. So let me write the algorithm. So the algorithm will be the first thing, there are two data structures. So I'll be using an unordered map for task for user. So this is for assigning task for a user and task priority. So these are the names given for unordered map and a priority queue for system. So here you will be storing in tuple where you got priority and then task ID and then user ID. Next, the task manager. It is having some task. So iterate and add each task. That means you will be calling. That means you will be call for add function. And then this is about task manager. In the add, you are having user ID, user ID, task ID, and priority. The first thing which we need to do is push into task for user and push into task priority and then into system 2. After adding this, we need to edit if we are asked for. So you are getting the task ID and new priority. So simply change in the task priority unordered map. So you need to take the user ID with task for user and change the priority in task priority. Push the new task into system. That means PQ. Then when we need to remove a task, then remove from task for user and task priority. And after removing it, there is another function execute top. So here get the top task and remove. That means call for remove function and then if. So this need to be done only when if there is task in the task priority. If take the top task, so only when this top task is present in the task priority, then remove it. Remove the top task. That means call for remove function and then return the user ID. So this is the algorithm for task manager. Now let me write a code for this question. Now you got the task manager. Here iterate and add each task. So before that you got unordered map int comma int for task for user, and also task priority and priority queue for double int comma int. Let me write it as pq for auto task. For every task, the user id will be task of 0. Task id is equal to task of 1. Priority is equal to task of 2. Now, as I said, call for add function, add user id, task id, and priority. Then, in this add function, task for user push back this into task for user and task priority of the task is equal to priority. Then push into system. Push into system. As I said, priority, task ID, and user ID. Then edit. Here, user ID is equal to task for user of task ID. Now, task priority of this task ID will be changed to new priority. Now, push this into system, new priority, then task ID and user ID. So, when we need to remove from task for user dot erase task ID and task priority dot erase task ID. Then, when you need to execute the top, search for the toppest priority in the system. So, while it is not empty, auto priority comma task id comma user id is equal to pq dot top. Then remove that element, and if task priority dot find task id, if it is found in our task priority and the priority is same, that means task priority of task id is equal to priority. That means the priority that we got here in the top. Now we need to call for remove function. Here, if there is task remove task top task, that means call for remove function. Remove the task id and return user id. Then after this, while loop return -1. Sorry. If you like this video, share to your friends and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.